Hello, everybody. Welcome. Another Tuesday night. We are happy to be here. I have Rod back. Rod is back from Spain and Italy, and he went to the Colosseum. He went all over. If you're not following him on Instagram, check it out. Some great food. I saw tons and tons of, I think I saw most of the pictures on his wife's page. Yeah, I think I saw more pictures on her page than I did on Rod's. We are joined by Troy, Mountain Man Treasure below me. He has been on with us multiple times. And also somebody you guys see sending super chats every week, but she is on here with us tonight. And that is Jessica with Resell to Ride. So we're happy to have her with us. Everybody's channel links are down in the description, and the moderators will be dropping them throughout the night as well. I am going to make Troy and then Jessica big, let them introduce themselves, and then we will get to your questions. So here is Troy.
Yeah, here I am. My name is Troy. I got Mountain Man Treasure is both the eBay store and the YouTube channel. YouTube has been a little slow for me the last little bit because I live in Montana and we have a garage sale season and we're not to it yet. I ran out of garage sale footage like 2 weeks ago that I had saved from the summer, but they're starting to pick up again. It was like 65 degrees today. So we're definitely going to have garage sales coming up again, but yeah, lots of videos on the channel. We got a couple, we just dropped one tonight, got a couple coming up this week. And I've been a full-time seller now for, actually it's now, we passed a year. I was full-time, part-time for like 5-6 years and then made this the full-time gig. And my announcement video was actually on April Fool's Day last year. And so now I guess it's been a little more than a year. So thrilled to be in and hang out. It's always fun.
Perfect. Here's Jessica.
Hey guys, I'm Jessica, Resell to Ride. I have a YouTube channel, as Kat mentioned. I drop videos every Friday. I try to do them by noon. Doesn't always happen, but I do my best. I do ride a motorcycle. I ride a Harley-Davidson Fat Boy, which is pretty much the love of my life. I have been a full-time reseller since last March. And I started reselling actually about 2.5 years ago to fund buying my motorcycle. So yeah, that's about it. I do a little bit on Whatnot here and there. I need to get back into it, but mostly just YouTube and full-time reselling right now. Glad to be here.
Perfect. So we are, Marsha, I will tell you, I think you might be on your own though. Oh, Caroline's here too. Caroline, if you could help her watch that chat. Mark's baseball got moved up, so he might be like super duper late tonight. He did let me know, just so you ladies know. Oh, Rod, we hit it at the same time. All right, guys, we already have 17 questions in K. So if you have questions, get them in early if you want to make sure we get to them. The first question, oh my gosh, there was one that was posted earlier. Rod, did you see it? It was posted like this afternoon. And so you guys know, if you post before 7 p.m., it gets erased. And I am totally blanking. If I remember what that question was, I will tell us later. Carrie is the first one coming in tonight asking, do you use peanuts when shipping? Why or why not? And she said, thank you to everyone on the panel. I learned so much every single week, and I'm the best. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I use them sometimes, not as a rule. I don't ship a lot of highly breakable stuff. I'm not like Kat where I have barns to store it in. It takes up a lot of space, and I don't like, I like packing the stuff that doesn't take that long to pack up and ship. But I actually recently, I made a big bulk purchase of a whole bunch of Coke figurines. And when customers purchase multiples, they do take some wrapping up. I use a lot of bubble, but then when they have multiples in one box, I do use them in that instance just to help. I tend to put bubble wrap on the very top where they're going to cut it open, though, just even one sheet, so that when they cut it open and open it, they don't get an explosion of, because that's what everybody hates. So I've been starting to put that right on top, and I think that helps. But as a rule, I don't, but if it needs it, got no problem doing it.
We don't buy packing peanuts, but when they come in a package from somebody else, we will reuse them. Most instances that we reuse them is if we ship out something glass, we'll use those as the buffer between the smaller box and the larger box that surrounds it. I never thought about them popping out on people like that, so I will take that advice for sure. But yeah, that's really the only time that we normally use them. We just recycle them.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't use packaged peanuts because they're expensive. To be honest with you, if you buy them, and they can be expensive. I only use them when I get them from other people. So what I do is I usually have a big garbage bag and I recycle all like the bubble wrap and peanuts and stuff like that I get from other resellers and other sellers, and when they do send to me. But I actually prefer the giant bubble wrap, like the big fat big bubbles, over the packaged peanuts, to be honest with you, because I feel like it gets more protection. I can wrap around, I can put double layers on it, and then use newspaper or use the regular brown paper in my box instead.
Yeah, so we used to use peanuts, and we got like giant garbage bags of them pretty cheap, but we went through a lot. That was one thing. And then I had Dalton, and when he was 1, his favorite thing to do was shred peanuts. So if he found one peanut, it would turn into like 100 little peanut pieces on my floor. And then we actually had Jocelyn, crazy lamp lady, on, and she said she didn't use them. And I'm like, wait a minute, like I'm shipping all these breakables. And I started, yes. So Vintage Vanier is saying paper, lots of paper. So we use small bubble wrap, medium bubble from American Bubble Boy, because the medium bubble is actually really big and you can get more for your money. And yeah. So, and I do reuse them, just like everybody else said. We don't throw them away. We will use them in another package if we get them. But yeah, I open stuff and I'm like, really, like, I mean, like, I get big auction lots and they fill them with peanuts. So that sometimes will like give us like 5 small boxes worth of peanuts. So you might get peanuts from me, but it's ones that are recycled. And again, it's because my main reason of switching away from them was Dalton shredding them. But now paper is cheaper. You can get 1,000-foot roll for $70, and that goes a long way. We reuse everything though. Bubble wrap that comes in, air pockets, everything gets reused for us.
I honestly think a lot of people do not like packaged peanuts because they make a mess.
They do. They make a giant mess, even if you don't have a 1-year-old shredding them for you. He even still, if I would let him, would crack them open.
I'm going to send him some.
Don't send us peanuts. No peanuts. Oh, Troy, your picture with like the dolphins and all that I got it's still hanging on my kitchen wall.
That's awesome.
And Dalton likes to look, and he's like, now it's a turtle. Now it's a whale. Troy got this really cool, like it changes depending on where you're at.
Yeah.
And I bought it from him. It's been years. It's been years ago that I got that from him.
You haven't sold that because you bought other stuff from me that you then sold.
I sold Toucan Sam. I did sell Toucan Sam. I did. But yeah, so that's why they're messy. I was going to drop,
Kat, you mentioned paper and it's cheaper. One thing I try to tell everybody, and I've only had a couple people that were like, hey, we checked that out, and you're right. So I'm going to drop it in here for a paper tip. You can go, if you got a local newspaper. I worked in newspaper for like 20 years. It's called an end roll is what it is. It looks like craft paper, basically. It's newsprint, it's blank newsprint. And when the machines get near the end, they can't let the thing run out or it'll screw up the machine. So they stop the machine, pull it off, put a new one on. And very often it's pretty thick of paper. You can go into your local newspaper place. Sometimes they'll just give it to you. Mine sells it for like $3 or $5 a roll. And you get a lot of paper. I wish we had
one. We don't have one here locally. They closed down. I wish we had one.
It's fantastic for packing.
So I'd flip that. Wants to know, Rod, how was your trip?
Trip was absolutely amazing. We had a lot of hiccups along the way. Our original flight got delayed, so we made it to Spain and Barcelona, but our luggage made it to Canada. And my wife's luggage showed up on day 3, and my luggage showed up on day 4, which was about 2 hours before we're about to check out from our hotel. We dropped our credit card on the ground, and someone stole our credit card and ran up over almost $5,000 worth of stuff at Prada and other stuff. But other than that, it was actually an amazing trip. I mean, even with all that stuff happening, we had an amazing time in Barcelona. We went to Florence after that. And then we went to Rome. Rome was by far our favorite city. So much to see there. The food was absolutely amazing. So, I mean, even on our way back, our flight got delayed 5 times because supposedly our plane got struck by lightning beforehand. So it was just, our travel was a mess, but I would do it all over again because we had such an amazing time, and it was by far an amazing honeymoon. So thank you.
Perfect. Shanae wants to know, how long do you wait until you lower your prices?
Honestly, I'm kind of lazy with that stuff. You know, I'm a list it and forget it. And then if I happen to go through and see something that I'm like, man, that's been listed for a year, then at some point I might look it up and lower it. But I should probably be better at it. But honestly, not very often. I just don't. I'll send offers all the time. But as far as actually getting in and editing and revising, I don't.
I'm the same way. I send offers like immediately as soon as I see them. But as far as lowering prices, it's just a happenstance. Like I just happen to notice that something's been sitting for a year plus, and then I'll go in and drop it $1 or $2, you know, just accordingly, depending on what the price is, but nothing drastic. Yeah, I don't go out. I don't go searching for them. I do the same thing, just list it and forget it pretty much.
So I used to list and forget it back in the day. I used to do it all the time. And then as my store grew, my inventory grew as well. And I realized I had a lot of items overpriced. So I would actually run sales all the time. I would run like a 60-day, anything was like 60 days, 90 days, 120 days. I would 3 set price points like 10%, 15, 20% off just to try to move some items. And then I got the point where anything that was like listed at 6 months or over, I would end it and relist it. Now I was down to 5 months. I'm cutting that down to like 4 months now, just the fact that I want to keep moving my inventory in and out. And, you know, I'm not in the business of having items as your business grows and you acquire more and more merchandise. I'm not in the business to paying for to store it. I'm in the business of paying to sell it. So I'd rather take 60, 70 cents on the dollar just to keep moving my items, keep that cash flow going.
Yeah, and I don't typically lower my prices either, but I send out bigger offers the longer it's been listed. So when I look at my offers, I look at when they were listed and I increase it the longer they've been listed. I had a $1,000 sale yesterday on a Disney snow globe, and it was exactly $1,000. I had it listed at $1,600, but and the last 3 on WorthPoint sold for $1,300. I was very, very torn on whether I take it or counter, but I had not gotten any reasonable offers. And the ones that sold before the $1,300 ones sold for only $300 to $700. So I was like, okay, you know, sales have been slow. I have a lot of money sitting in this, and I took it, and that was about 40% off. It was listed in January of 22. So about a year and 3 months, not overly long, but long enough that I said, okay, we're going to just let this go. I have 6,000 items, I think 6,200 listed. So for me to go through and lower prices would just be a time consuming thing. I would rather just send offers when people are interested or accept, lower offers if I know it's been listed for a long time.
And that's exactly the reason I don't have, I take a lot of offers, but I don't have that automated, the
decline. I've lowered the price before, and my auto decline was higher than my price.
Yeah,
like that's why I had a smaller
what you
store.
were willing to take when you first listed it, it's different than what you had the other day. So unless you want to get in and change that every time, that's why I don't set an auto limit.
Yeah. I learned that very early in the beginning. Miss Sue wants to know if you have any ducks left, Troy.
Yeah, I got ducks for days. I got a bin with ducks. Somebody mailed me a box yesterday that I haven't even opened. I got ducks everywhere. I got plenty of ducks. We sell. People are like, why would you have? We sell I actually have some just random. Like there's a one. There's a little sailor.
There are some cute little ducks.
There's a Christmas one. I got all ducks. Kinds of ducks. We sell rubber ducks on the channel. It's sort of like the channel merch, I guess, in essence. You got to get your ducks in a row if you want to sell on eBay, and you actually have to have 3 ducks in order to make it row. We've determined. 20% of every duck goes to the Gary Sinise Foundation also, which is really cool. They do a lot of work with severely wounded first responders and veterans. So we get to send sometimes hundreds of dollars a month to them, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Miss Rochelle says, do you guys promote? And if so, do you use the suggested percent amount?
I do. I promote most everything in my store. Generally, what I do is I'll list stuff and I'll let it run for 2 or 3 weeks at least, just straight out there to see if somebody finds it just naturally. After that, I go in and I bulk edit and I will promote. I usually sort it by the number of watchers or the number of views. And if there's something that's getting a whole lot of action with me doing nothing, I'll let it run for a little bit longer, or I'll put it at the minimum of 2% and let it go. The other stuff, I usually cap it at like 10%, but yeah, I'll do the suggested and cap it. You got to pay to play. I don't love it, but where else are you going to find the reach that you can find on eBay to a world? I sold a shirt the other day to Taiwan. I'm not going to do that if I create my own website. So I'm going to pay eBay so that I can sell my stuff. My margins can handle it.
Yeah, same thing. That's I just promote at whatever suggested is what I do it at. I don't want to mess with it. I mean, they're probably not right every single time, but I just go with it. It's easier for me. I can just get moving on to the next listing and not have to think about it. I don't want to go in the back end and mess around and accidentally mess something up because I'm not the most computer savvy. eBay has been a huge learning curve for me. And so I just let it do its thing. I just do whatever they tell me pretty much.
So I'm slightly different. I usually only do roughly like 2 to 3% on all my listings. But then what I do is when I do run discounts on my store, which helps get a lot more watchers on my items, that's when I'll end up sending offers and then lower my cost. So it's just a different strategy to it, but real similar to just having a higher promotion in the very beginning. I just promote at 2-3% and then run a big discount, 10-20% discount on certain times in my store, which gets a ton of watchers, and then I just send offers to them.
Yeah, and I do promoted plus. I think I went back up to 2%. I was at +1. And I cap mine at 10% like Troy as well. So I don't let them go above 10%, but I do trending +1%. So I do a little more because I want to do a little more than average and just be seeing a little bit more than those that are just running trending. But that has worked pretty well for us. Chorus Corner. This is a fun one. What have you learned on Whatnot that you wish you knew when you first started?
I don't know. Like, Whatnot can be tough. I think eventually they're going to settle in. It was great when it first started. Right now, there are more sellers than buyers, I think. So it's a bit of a buyer's market on there in many shows. So it can be tough. And I wish I knew that I guess that was going to change. When I first started, I was in that first wave and we did well on stuff because there was a lot of people buying and everybody was clamoring saying, let us in, let us in, let us in. Well, they let everybody in and now it diluted everything. And so now everybody that's on there is having a harder time, or many people that are on there are having a harder time because they dilute, they spread out all of the buyers. And so I wish I knew that it was going to change like that. I still think it's a fantastic way to move bulk purchases. I told Kat before we started, I just bought a whole bunch of G.I. Joe. Actually, Easter Sunday, this lady came up in church that knew what I did and said, hey, my late husband, all his G.I. Joe stuff, I put it in the back of the car. Is that something you'd be interested in? So I sourced out of the back of this lady's car on Easter. Tell people what you do, folks. I got all these like 1980s G.I. Joe. I'm going to bring all the figures just to Whatnot to move. We're going to move like 30 figures in one day. I could list them on eBay, but it's the pictures, the hassle. Whatnot's great for stuff like that. You might not get top dollar, but I think it's still a viable platform for resellers. You just got to be ready to not get that top dollar.
I think the thing that I've learned is that it is way more work than you think it is. I've done probably about 10 shows or so, and it's been quite some time since I did one. And the reason I quit was because I had basically very little following, so I wasn't selling much. And when I was selling it, I was getting very little. So following is really key, but we're talking about getting back into it again. And I think we're just going to go for it, and we may lose some money on some stuff, but we got to gain that following to get to even remotely close to Kat's level. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, definitely it is a lot of work getting everything, pictures done, putting it in there. And the time that you sit there, you don't realize how long you've been sitting there doing that show. So we've done some like 4-hour long shows and just been totally exhausted at the end. And then you got to ship it all too. So yeah, it's a lot of work.
So I haven't done my first whatnot, but I will say my biggest regret is not starting sooner with it. I went through all the classes for it last year, and I kept putting it off. I just had a wedding. I had other stuff coming up that just took priority. I didn't have time. But the only thing I would say is prepare to lose money on there. Prepare to make sure that you have cents on a dollar in your items, because if you want to build a following, you're going to have to, start low, and you're going to have to be willing to break even or take a loss there at first, just because you have to be competitive with everyone else on there. And a lot of people don't know that. And there's many times I go to other people's, like Troy was saying, there's so many people doing it on there. They might only have 4 or 5 people on there, and they're starting at $7, $8, $9, $10 for items, and no one's buying anything. So prepare to start low and prepare to break even, but you want to build that following. Remember, it's a marathon, not a race. So.
Yeah, so my situation is a little bit different because I do have a bigger following. I just looked. So we, and I can show you guys, we've sold 12,000 items since I started in September, 11,904. It will be 12,000 after tomorrow. I agree that I should have gotten into it earlier. I kind of was resistant, but I'm kind of glad I did, because the jewelry department contacted me, and that's how I found selling jewelry on Whatnot. So that was not my idea. Whatnot reached out to me, and I'm glad they did, because I love selling jewelry on there. We also did a vintage apron show. I am thinking of giving in to all of you asking me to make a Whatnot video. It's been going back and forth in my head. Just with some tips that I think have helped me to be successful. And of course that following has to be there, but I have seen sellers do amazing with no following. I know a seller with no following making almost $200,000 a month on Whatnot. It is possible. It is possible. I actually was just texting with them earlier. If you have really good stuff, the people will find you. They will find you. But it might take a little bit of time. But that's where, like Jessica said, taking pictures and cataloging is really important, because then somebody might be searching for what you have. With jewelry, it might be a maker. With Legos, it might be a certain set. And they will then bookmark your show, and that's how they find you. I would say cataloging is important. And I've learned just in the last month or two that scheduling your shows 2 to 3 weeks out, where you have more time for people to bookmark them, is very, very important. Like, I have 5 shows booked out now. I will probably book out another 10 tomorrow. The longer you book them out, the longer people have to bookmark them and come into your show. And I allow during each giveaway people to advertise. And I don't know if Deb is here. Look at Julian in the chat. I don't know if Deb is here, but Deb has not even done a show, and she's gained almost 1,000 followers just by advertising her Whatnot channel. When other sellers say, hey, if you're a seller, drop your link. And not even a first show, or maybe she did a show. She did one, but she's almost to 1,000 followers. So consistency. Yeah. Gino makes $1.78 a month on Whatnot. So consistency is key. I am seriously considering pulling Lynn off of eBay 2 days a week and putting more time into Whatnot. I'm just making more money there, and that just makes sense to me to follow where the money's coming from. So we might be doing day shows. I said I was going to do one tomorrow. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it. I haven't decided yet. So that will really be a true pop-up if I do a Whatnot show tomorrow morning. Yeah. So I might do a video just with some little like tips and tricks that I think would help new people. Shanae, I am so excited you sent a $3 super chat. And that is because last week I polled you guys and we decided to keep the dolphin, but lower the volume, which I did on all of the super chats. But I made 2 new super chats as well. And I'm going to play the first of those now. So thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. First time seeing this one, guys. Here you go. Ta-da! And I even lowered the volume as it was going out. That was Dalton at Tybee Island a couple of weekends ago, playing on the beach. So thank you so much. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Pamela wants to know, and I'm going to highlight both of hers because she wants to know if anybody has purchased a bubble wrap maker. And then she also said she loves you can create them as you need and not have big bulky rolls of bubble wrap around. So have any of us purchased a bubble maker?
No, I'm a faithful American bubble boy buyer. Go to my channel. The link's in the description. You know, you could look at cats, but if you want to go to mine too,
mine is in this description. It's much easier to get to.
No, I have not bought one. I've seen them and they're pretty intriguing, but I'm just too cheap, to be honest.
Yeah, I haven't used one. I am intrigued to see how long it takes, though, because I feel like it would take longer to do that, especially if you're selling a lot of items.
Yeah, that is my thought. So from American Bubble Boy, I pay $10 for 250 feet. I can imagine, and I will tell you, I go through about 1,000 feet a week. The time that it would take to make that, there's no way that it is worth it. But if you have it set up as a business, like I have a loft above my head and all those bulky rolls of bubble wrap are above me. So if you have it set up as a business and have a shipping station, you should have a dedicated area for those rolls of bubble wrap. Miss Barbara apparently wants to see, me and Rod are like synced. We click the same thing. So one of us clicks it on, one clicks it off. She wants to see the other new super chat. So Miss Barbara sent $2. Definitely also, guys, Miss Barbara makes amazing artwork. She is a painter. She is on Whatnot, and she recycles books. She paints on the cover of books where you can still read the book. And she does amazing, amazing work. So just check out Barbara. It's the same name, Barbara Florentine on Whatnot. She paints very, very well. All right, here's the other new super chat. Here you go. There you go, guys. So a little bit more Dalton. That was Dalton and Brooke pillow fighting at the hotel in Tybee Island. So there you are. Thank you so much, Miss Barbara. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Miss Shanae says, how many listings do you currently have and how long did it take you before you started seeing consistent sales, 1,000 or more per month?
I think I'm sitting right about 1,900 now. I was 1,800 for a long time, and I'd hit that 19, and then stuff would sell. And I'm right about 1,900, give or take, right now. I usually tell people that you won't start seeing regular daily sales until you hit right about that 500 number. Now, that's just a blanket statement because you could be buying stuff that sells the day you list it. It really depends on what you're listing, but if you're just the generic reseller that lives in an average area that's buying some stuff that'll sell quick, some that sells in a month, and it's a mix of price points and stuff like that. I usually say about 500, you'll start to see that consistent sale coming in daily.
Yeah, I'm at somewhere like 1575 or so. I've been like teasing the line of 1,600 listings for quite some time now, and that's been a goal for me, but I just I've been slacking too much, honestly. But yeah, as far as getting more consistent sales, the last few months, probably like the last 6 months or so, I've been sitting at an average of 7 to 10 per day. No problem. I've had a couple of days here recently. I don't know if eBay's losing its mind, but I've had a few days where nothing happens at all for hours, but it normally comes back, and then like a day or so later, it'll just be on fire. So yeah, it's yeah.
So I think I'm at like 1480, and I usually hover around the 1500 mark. You know, to be honest with you, I need to go through my store, and I'm about to probably get rid of like 200 or 300 listings that are just like $10 or less, just to clear some old inventory that I have discounted over time, or stuff that just hasn't moved. So I mean, because I was before my wedding here, I would be putting up a couple hundred items per month, and I would be selling a couple hundred items. So I would always stay around that 1500 mark there. But as to see that $1,000 per month, it's really going to come down to what you're actually selling, what your average price point is. Because if you have a higher price point per items or a higher sale rate per items, you're going to get to that number quickly. But if you're just an average seller, pretty much selling everything, I'm with Troy on that one. Probably around the 400 to 500 mark, you start seeing consistent sales. And you know, the biggest thing you do is just increase your average sales price by either lotting items together or having a higher listed item, you know, on eBay will help increase that or help you reach that faster.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with about 500 to see regular sale. 1,000 per month is not a lot. That's only about $40 a day in sale. So I would say make sure you're listing $40 a day in items, whether it's for $10, $140, and to even bump it up a little more, list $100 a day. And hope to get to $3,000 a month, because $100 a day is not really hard to hit. I have 62. Hold on, I'll tell you. I have a lot of listings. Where are we at? We are at 6,231 listings. I am like go, even when I was doing it by myself, but we also have employed listers over the years. I just have one. So it's really like just one person is running eBay right now. And we average about 100 listings a week. So about 20 a day, 5 days a week. I'll put only 10 up Saturday, 10 Sunday. So some get put up every day. But yeah, I would say I would shoot for 500 listings and listing $100 a day. Miss Diane wants to know, is there an easy way to see the watchers? Like, you can see the likes? And I'll, on the app, if you look at what you're selling, I have to go back. It tells you right on the app, 0 watchers. You can, look, 0. This is all new stuff listed today. That's 0 views, 0 watchers. I just listed these. I would, you can toggle them when you're on the computer is what I'm trying to say. Like if you want to see what has the most watchers. So super easy though on the computer, but there's not a way, like you're saying notifications. eBay doesn't notify you of all of like the watchers. There's no way to get notified of that I know. Does anybody know a way?
Yeah,
no, not like as an alert or anything, but you will get you know, you can go into, if you send offers, you can see that you've got a new watcher. Now, not every watcher allows you to send an offer. You can set that up in your settings, but you know, if they allow offers and you got a watcher on it, you can send an offer on that item. So you can see that. I mean, I usually look at that multiple times a day. You know, what do I have? And I'll sort it by, depending on my mood, you know, the highest price, and I'll send offers on that, or the most newly listed to see what's getting activity, whatever. That's a good place to see what you have watchers on.
Yeah. Miss Linda said, what do you sell that you really don't like selling?
I try to only sell stuff that I like selling. Otherwise, it sits in my death pile and I don't list it. I buy it because I go, I know that's worth $200. I can't help myself. I have to buy it. And then I get it home and it sits for a year. You know, and so I'm getting better at actually leaving money at the garage sale because I know I'm going to get it home and I don't like it. I don't like selling it. I don't like packing it, whatever it is. And it's just going to sit there and waste money and space. So I'm getting better at it. One thing I'm looking around and I have like 5. I think I have 5 of the big Halloween decorations in here. I hate putting them together and photographing the things and then shipping them because they're monstrous. But some of them are worth $300, $400, $500. So those I kind of can't help myself, but they're filling up my garage in here. So I have to force myself to list them. I actually have a giant one in the back of my car right now because I didn't have room to put it in the garage. So I'm riding around with a Halloween decoration in my car. So I guess that would be my one thing is the giant box Halloween decorations.
I think mine's got to be glass items, things that are easily breakable, and that's just, it bothers me. But Xena is really into learning that stuff right now, but I've been lucky enough to be able to convince her to put most of it into our antique booth. So we have sold a few glass items. We sold a glass electric kettle. It's like a Coleman electric kettle thing. It had no cords, no nothing, just the glass pot, and sold it for like $250. And that was a while back. And I was on pins and needles until I finally got a good review from those people, and it turned out really well.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I try to stay away from glass as much as possible.
So for me, it's actually a couple things. So I love selling video games. I hate testing out systems. Systems I hate. I love selling VCRs. I hate testing out VCRs. I love selling clothing. I hate measuring out clothing and putting the measurements in, and because for the extra work it does. So I try to do that stuff in batches. So what I'll do is I pile it up, and then when I get 5, 6, 7 of them, or a lot of 20 clothing, and then I try to batch it all at one time, take the photos, do the measurements, so I get in the rhythm of doing it. But I just don't like things that take extra time, because that time is money, and that's the only thing that irks me, because I know that I could be listing other things, listing 5 things while I'm testing out one item, but I know I'm with a higher sales point. So there's a trade-off in between there, but that'll be the 3 things that bother me the most.
I think my biggest would be electronics. I can't help but check them, but they can be a pain in the butt because I'm not going to test them. So I sell them as is. I also have been doing watches. If you guys saw the Harley watch I sold for $350, it's coming back. Even though I put the dang thing didn't work, they're still sending it back, and eBay's going to force it because they did item not as described. So yeah, I would say watches and electronics would be my top 2 that I do not like selling. Miss Diane wants to know, does leaving a comment on a YouTube show help the content creator?
Yeah, any activity on, thumb up or thumb down. I love the people that give me thumbs down because they think it's hurting me. It does the same thing as a thumb that goes up. I have one person out there. It's got to be one person because every video, and I think they have notifications, it can be 20 minutes old and I'll have 1 thumbs down on it. So I have somebody out there that gives me a thumb down all the time. It doesn't matter. It actually, any activity. So the thumb up, the thumb down, commenting, any of that helps because it just feeds the algorithm on YouTube.
Yeah, I haven't gotten any thumbs down yet, luckily, but I did get 1 negative.
That means
comment.
you haven't you got to get bigger. That's like the ultimate sign. That and the hate comments.
I got one rude comment, and I just, out of like knee-jerk reaction, deleted it. And then I was like, no, why did you do that?
I delete them. Well,
I was thinking, maybe my mom or somebody will come to my defense and it'll create more chaos on my channel and get me, get the algorithm all nice and happy and bring more people to me. But yeah.
So for those that don't know, I did pro wrestling for a long time. And with wrestling, we have a saying there is, if the crowd is booing or if the crowd is cheering, you're doing something right. So it's one of those things where if I'm getting people leave me, liking, hitting the subscribe button, leaving good comments, leaving negative comments, I love when people leave me a negative comment, because as your channel gets bigger, your followers or people will come to your defense, and then people will start commenting on top of those. So the more negative comments I get on my thing, I enjoy it, because 2 or 3 more comments are going to show up that are going to defend me before I even have to go in there and defend myself. So yeah, that actually helps. So anything you do, any type of interaction you have does help us out.
Yeah, and I agree. It helps the algorithm to see people are interacting, so it definitely does help. Miss Betty has a question.
Fun.
Yeah.
I delete it. I don't leave it.
I'd get emails or sometimes letters from people. I kept some of them. I would pin them up on my wall if I wrote a column that got people mad, like one said, does what you do have any redeeming value in this world whatsoever? You know, I kept that. Like, I love those. They're great.
The fact that people will take time out of their day to try to put you down or just shows that you're doing something right, that they're trying to bring you down to their level.
Mhm.
That's a
Yeah.
compliment. People don't look at it that way, but it is a compliment that they're trying to knock you down a notch.
So if you're going to do YouTube, you have to be ready for that. Like, you have
Yeah,
to know that it's
you
going
will
to
get
happen.
them. You will get them for sure. Miss Betty says, Jessica, I'm thoroughly impressed with your instructional videos like the flat lay, how-to, and eBay templates guide. Do you plan on making more instructional videos? Please say yes.
Yeah, I'm open to that. The template guide was actually, that's my best video. It's at like 2,000 views, so it's a drop in the bucket compared to some people here on the panel, but for me it's a big milestone. So yeah, I'm totally open to it. I would be glad to. So if you guys want to go comment on my YouTube or Instagram or whatever and ask me if there's something you want me to do, I'll do my best to help you out.
Perfect. What was that? I know I already responded to him in the chat. I think Julian gets, luckily I don't get a ton. I don't get a ton of them. And I'll leave them if they're not like really, really mean and nasty and stuff that I just wouldn't want anybody else to read. And at that point, I just block them from my channel so they can't comment again. They can comment. I wonder if hidden comments count as, I bet they do. Even though nobody can see them, they're still engaging with your video. Eventually, they will figure it out when you don't like or heart because you never see it, I'm sure. But yeah. Miss Patty wants to know what are we all having for dinner?
I don't know. Like, this is my dinner time, so it's whatever I can put together after I get done here. So I have no idea. I'm giving up dinner and the Avalanche are on in 45 minutes, Kat, and I'm giving up one of their 3 final regular season games for you and for the people.
Aw, thank you, Troy.
I ended up eating a peanut butter sandwich because I forgot to get dinner made before we started. So Zena's going to come home and have nothing to eat. So enchiladas tomorrow night, I guess. My bad.
I had some organic chicken with some organic potatoes and broccoli. Boring, I know, but
I have not had anything. I don't know what I'm going to have. I don't know. I will figure it out after the show. Katie wants to know, and I think just Troy can take this. Just one of us needs the answer. How do I adjust the shipping after the sale? I forgot to fix the weight when I listed it.
It depends on, I guess, the platform we're talking about. If it's eBay, when you print the label, you can change anything on there. Hopefully, you didn't do it by too much, and it's going to cost you too much money. I always under or over on stuff at least once a day. It's usually, it doesn't hurt because you under and over and it balances out. I don't know if that came in when we were talking Whatnot. If you do that on Whatnot, you can go in and click on a link. You click on
the label
order number, and you can actually edit the label to what the actual shipping price is on there, and then print the label from there.
All right, let's see. Jen's asking, when you drop your price, does it bump your item in listings?
I don't know. I mean, any activity on an item is good, whether it's yours or somebody else's. I think there's a certain amount. If you drop the price, does it notify watchers that the price has dropped? I don't know what the percentage is that it does that. I don't remember. Is it 5% or is it? There's a certain threshold where I think it automatically.
I honestly don't know.
I can't remember what it is. I know there was a percentage that if you dropped it so much, it would send a notification like, "Hey, that item you're watching is now on sale." So I know that happens. I just can't remember what the percentage is.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, honestly.
So for me, it will bump it because I end my auction and then I do list similar to relist at a lower price. So it comes up as a newly listed item and at a lower price. So we'll be top of the algorithm at that time.
Yeah, and sometimes, and somebody told me like eBay used to do store resets. If you change the price, it is like you reset the item. So I have done like all 6,000 items, and it doesn't take long because you can bulk edit 2,000 at a time, and I'll drop the price or increase the price by like 1 or 2 cents, just so it's some kind of change on all my listings. I haven't done that in a while. I probably should. So I do think because it's activity on the listing, whether you change the price, the title, the pictures, I think doing anything to it would give you a little bit of a boost. Patty wants to know, how can you identify fire and light?
What is that, Kat? I don't know what we're asking.
Okay, so they're all signed. It is pieces of glass, and they're recycled glass. I have never found one, but all of their pieces are signed to my knowledge. That is a good question for Yvonne, and Yvonne Thrifty Rich has a video on fire and light. Tons of information on it. So search for Yvonne Thrifty Rich Fire and Light, and you will find a lot of information. We have a new member. Oh, I almost did it. I clicked off of it. All right. So this is the same member one, but I decreased the volume for you guys. So Patty, welcome. Thank you so much. Here is your dolphin.
Welcome to the flipping family.
It sounds super quiet to me. Let me know in the chat how it sounds to you, because that was one of the biggest feedbacks on the dolphins, was that they were too loud. So let me know how that sounds. Is it just right? Is it too loud? Is it too quiet? Let me know. Miss Vicky wants to know, how do you file taxes and get a refund if you don't get but $50 because you only paid in $50? That's probably a question for an accountant. But I will tell you, if you're talking about businesses, okay.
Even give a disclaimer. Give a disclaimer.
I'm not an accountant, but with businesses, it doesn't matter what you paid in. You have mileage as a write-off. You have home office as a write-off. You have your inventory as a write-off. I will say the last 2 years we have made enough that I do pay in. But the first 2 years I was reselling, I did get a refund. So if you're not, like, we sold over $200,000 last year. So there's no way I'm not going to have to pay in. But I'm happy with what I paid in. I am like super, super happy with what we paid in. My accountant is well worth what I pay for him. Okay, Rocks to Be Me said louder is better, and we all rock. I will give you the original one, but let's do Gino's. Both of them do have the sound decrease, though. Here you go. And Rocks to Be Me, I hope you got the picture. She sent me and Dalton some rocks because she knows me and Dalton love rocks and gemstones. And Dalton, she sent a bag for Dalton, a bag for Brooke, some for me, and some for me to do my resin art. And Dalton still kidnapped more than was his bag. He has a bowl. I got him a carved wood bowl that he puts his rocks in. So he kidnapped them. So here is your dolphin. Dun, 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 dun. Selena sent a $5.50 super chat, and she's paying her late fee. Mark started that. She said, since she makes fun of me, I was on time tonight for once, finally. All right, here's the original dolphin. Thank you so much, Selena.
Super chat.
And I do want to say thanks to Gino, because I couldn't figure out how to get those videos, and Gino helped me with how to download them so I could edit them and lower the sound on them. Mark better have a really big late fee tonight for sure. Miss Rochelle, she said I have to say it like that. She demanded it of me. I haven't tried it yet, but if I do a sale, can I just choose certain items, or do I have to do the whole store?
Yeah, I think so, because when you create a sale, it'll ask if you want to exclude specific items. So you could do it back, the same result that way if you make a sale and exclude items, and that way take out what you don't want. You can do it that way by price point. You know, you're only putting on sale items that are between $20 and $100. You know, whatever it might be. You can do that.
Yeah, I do that. Every other week, I do a sale that's a certain percent off, depending on how long certain items have been listed. Like I do 30 to 60 days is like 10% off, and so on and so forth. And I can go in, and if there's an item like a higher dollar item that I really don't want to put on sale, even though it's been around for a while, I'll just delete it. You can go in and be very selective that way. So it's a pretty cool feature.
Pretty much what they just said. So.
Yeah, so you can pick individually up to 500 items. That's the cap on that. Like me, I have 6,000, so I just do my whole store. You could exclude, but I just do everything. But when my store was smaller, I would pick individual items for the sale by hand. I think so. Lori asked about promoted listings. I think we all already covered that just a little bit ago. Karen wants to know if any of us have started using scheduled listings now that they are free.
No, the only time I've ever fiddled with that is when I'm going to be gone on vacation. I will schedule them out so that things are being listed daily while I'm not actually there and listing. Otherwise, I don't mess with that. You know, I'm day to day. You know, it's just me. So I list what I can list for the day. You know, I don't set that aside to list for tomorrow because I need it listed today.
Yeah, I've never scheduled anything. I've just had like a draft bank ready if I go on vacation or something. That way I can just drop a few every day at the end of the day after I'm done with all my activities. Right before I go to sleep, I'll just drop 5 to 10 listings just to make sure there's some sort of activity.
So I rather list and get my items up as soon as possible on eBay. It doesn't matter the time for me because they're all going to be buy nows. The only times I actually use a scheduled listing is I'm actually planning on doing an auction, and I want that auction to go like 10 days. I'm not going to be home, and I like my auctions to end on a Sunday, so I'll list it on a Thursday. So I hit 2 weekends, and it'll end on a Sunday night because Sunday nights are usually one of the better nights for auctions to end. So that's the only time I ever really use scheduled listings.
Yeah, and I would only use it for auctions, and I haven't run any auctions since they changed it to free, so I have not used it. And then Karen
before, it was only 10 cents.
Yeah,
so
10 cents. It didn't really matter.
Yeah, I did it for my auctions. I did because I didn't want to wait until Friday at 7 p.m. To start it. So I definitely would use it once it goes, like if I run more auctions. She also wanted to know, do you use drafts? And she wanted to make sure everybody knows the drafts view on the computer now has an expiration date, and it does look like they expire in about 75 days. We have been asked that before, and I don't think any of us knew. So 75 days is when your drafts do expire. So do we use drafts?
Sometimes, not very often. Like the Coke girl lamp back here. I made a big Coke purchase. I've got a draft started for her, but I had to get a box because the top, the finial, that's the word. The finial won't come off the top. And so the shade, it's all one piece. And so I have to find a box that fits the like 16 by 10. And then I need, space. And so I don't have one here. So I started a draft. I've got all the pictures, all the everything, but I got to wait until I get a box so that I know I can ship it when it sells. So I do have that in draft because it's not ready to ship out yet, but otherwise not really.
I use drafts daily, but they're very short-lived. It's normally like me doing batches. I'll get the draft going and then I'll do pictures later. And then of course, Zena helps me out a lot. So she does, she'll draft like hats or other items that are easy for her to do with just a light box. And then I'll go in and fill in all the rest of the information and put the price in and stuff and then push them out that way. So
I don't use drafts that often. I have used them when I went on vacation before, so I can have items drop while I'm, on vacation or taking time away. I do like to use drafts though for if I always list for my phone, so I always like to batch my photos, and sometimes I will use draft if I forgot like a measurement, or I'll get the whole listing going and I need to go back and add additional information, or there's the picture didn't come out clear or something along those lines because I'm I take, if I batch all my photos and I'm making that listing, 6-7 hours later, that's the only time I'll use a draft. I need to go back and just start it and go back and finish it later I just need to add additional information.
Yeah, so I use them a lot. My business setup is going to be different than most. I have a full-time eBay employee, and so she photographs and makes drafts, and then I review them, edit the title, do the research and the pricing. So we use drafts very heavily, but I list those drafts every day, except like I said, Saturday and Sunday, I split them up. So I've got some drafts coming up each day. Like right now there's 23 in the drafts, and those were all listed today. So tomorrow morning I will make all those active, and then tomorrow during the day she will list more, and there will be more drafts. So we definitely use the drafts. John is here. Yay. More income in the house. Glad you were here, my friend. B. Trider says, I've sold at least a dozen Otter Creek. Otterbox. I think so too. That's why I'm like Otter. There's a town called Otter Creek right next to me, and I'm like, Otter Creek? Am I asking for a Vero? I would say yes, because I've gotten one taken down for a Vero. So I would say Otterbox is a no-go for me.
Yeah, they're one of the more militant companies. They'll go out looking for it.
Yes, for sure. Yankee Candle actually just emailed me a bunch of legal mumbo jumbo because I have one candle listed. But they didn't contact me on eBay. They emailed me. But they didn't, they weren't threatening. They're like, we're trying to gather all of the sellers. I'm like, yeah, no, we're not answering that. But anyway, I just got that today. Summertime Vintage said, I just opened my business eBay account. I'm planning on listing my first items this weekend. I've heard people get approved for limited listings at first. When you should know now. When will I know, and how will I know? So if you look at your page on the app and scroll down all the way at the bottom, it'll tell you how many you can list. Like I can list 13,000 more items and 400,000. So if you scroll to the very bottom, it should already tell you what your monthly selling limits are. And that's just on the eBay app. So just scroll to the very bottom and it shall tell you. Miss Betty says, do I have to ship in according to the buyer's preference for the way to ship? Example, first class priority, or can I choose the shipping class at the time I ship?
I would say ship it with whatever they paid for and whatever they asked for. There are times where I will just, if I'm in the mood, I'll upgrade them. Sometimes if it's a DVD and then I had it set for media mail, but it's, a more expensive DVD and sending it first class is 20 more cents. Sometimes I upgrade it. They'll get it faster. You're asking, you're putting yourself in a good spot to get good customer review on that one. And you got a little bit better protections, that sort of thing. You can do the same thing, first class to priority. I wouldn't downgrade it, and be sure to look at with each shipping method, it'll tell you the estimated time of arrival. So if you are going to change it, I always make sure that, hey, if I change it from priority to FedEx, is it going to still arrive there in the same time frame? I don't think generally people are going to care when it's something like that, but they are going to care if you sold something priority and decided to ship it media mail. So don't downgrade them and make sure it's going to show up about the same time.
I feel the same way. That's what I've just left it normally. I had one time that I swear I put it in as first class and it popped up and said that they put in their preferred shipping method as priority, but I just left it how it was. It wasn't too much of a difference, so I just did it. But normally I agree with Troy. Definitely don't downgrade. I would only, if you're going to change it at all, only upgrade that shipping to a faster time. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same as both of them. When you do set your shipping standards, you can actually set what you're going to be shipping it at. So I don't really give my buyers an option to go through FedEx or UPS if I'm only offering United States Postal Service. So it shouldn't be that much of an issue. I will say there has been times where I had items that I went through, I changed it to FedEx or UPS because I may have messed up the size or the item didn't fit in the box and I needed to go a different route with it. But at the same point in time is, if they made sure the time was exactly the same, and if there was any changes, just reach out and email the buyer, let them know. And 9 out of 10 times, they're super cool about things.
Yeah, I agree with what everybody said. I upgrade sometimes if the price is similar. The only time, like Rod said, the only time I'll switch from priority to UPS is if I messed up on the dimensions and it's going to cost $40 more to ship priority, then I switch it to UPS. Other than that, we do not touch it and don't change it. And I would say, unless it's extenuating circumstances or you're upgrading, I would not change it. Patty wants to know, is it worth listing and shipping lampshades? She said she has 50 in storage.
Because of the massive box, personally, I say no. Just because I don't like to ship the big bulky. That's why, like Longaberger baskets. Yeah, I know they're worth money. They're massive, and you got to get a big box. I don't want to mess with it.
$500 for a hamper, Troy. $500 for a hamper. Find the box.
That's the one thing that I would go, like, I'd have to fight myself, and I might bring it home. But you already have them. So if you're, I guess, if you're willing to put them in a big box and ship it, you got to consider how much are those bigger boxes to buy, I guess, unless you can scrounge them from wherever. But if you feel like shipping them, I guess, and if the money is there. I mean, I don't know how much, if it's just a generic lampshade that's going to sell for $5 plus shipping, I'd say no. I mean, it's got to be worth the time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you've already got them, so you might as well take the time to look them up. If they're just sitting there, see if they're worth it, if they're worth your time, if they're worth, the effort of putting into that. Otherwise, gosh, I don't know what you'd do with 50 lampshades, honestly. Sometimes we sell at the flea market. If you have that as an outlet, maybe that'd be a good place to take them. I don't know, or marketplace, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know anything about lampshades. The only lampshade was attached to a leg lamp, and that's about it. So other than that, yeah, I have to defer this one. She may know about lampshades.
So I just did a quick search, and there are 230,000 listed and only 28,000 sold. So it's only a 10% sell through. So personally, even if I had them, I would say unless they're spectacular or named, I would not list them. And by spectacular, I mean like vintage cloth, fringe, like super, super neat that are going to sell for money. You have to figure, even if it's 5+ ship, is somebody going to be willing to pay $40 because it has to go in an oversized box? And it looks like the majority of those 28,000 that sold are glass lampshades. So you didn't say if they were glass or fabric. I'm assuming fabric. My general answer is going to be no. I would not list them. Karen says, I'm thinking of doing junk drawers or reseller lots to clear out some old mistake buys. Have you tried either?
I haven't. I mean, I know some people do. I've purchased some junk drawer lots off of Mercari because I spotted a couple things in that I knew were worth grabbing and then selling, and it actually makes more than what you bought it for. So if you can pick out items, sometimes that works on the buying end. Selling, I've never really tried it. I don't know.
I've bought a couple before I got really deep into reselling. I bought a few just to source and to get things for my antique booth. We have not listed any yet. I do have a box set up that we've been slowly putting small things into a flat rate box. And once it gets full enough, we're going to, I'll take the pictures and get it listed and see how it goes. Just put it up for auction and see what happens.
Yeah, I have sold some in the past. The only piece of advice I can give to you is make sure you take very clear photos. Make sure your top items are up front and very clear for people to see. And make sure that you have cents in the dollar in them. And I started at an auction and started at $1 and let it run, because most of the time junk drawer, you're just trying to move items, get rid of items, and you don't care what they go for. So if you don't care what they go for, then that's the best way to do them.
Yeah, and the only ones I really do are on Whatnot. So I just bought 100 pounds of jewelry. That's actually a tote full of 50 pounds of jewelry right there. I went through half, and I go through it pretty fast on whether I like it. Do I want to sell it on Whatnot? So they're like 5 pounds of jewelry, and I think I'm going to have 3 more bags tomorrow. But I am doing it because I can't. I mean, I could individually list 100 pounds of jewelry on Whatnot, and I'd sell 500 to 600 a week. But 100 pounds of jewelry is like 6,000 items, probably close to it. And I like buying and finding jewelry, so I'm being picky, and the rest are going into bags to you guys. And I caught 2 items worth like $50 to $75 that I literally put in the bag, and I'm like, wait. So there is a good chance I'm going through it so fast that there is good stuff that I'm missing in there, and it's all wearable. So that's what I'm doing, just because like I have 40 more pounds, so I have 90 pounds left to go through. And I like the searching and finding and buying more is what I like. So that's where I do mine. I have not tried them on like eBay or any of the other platforms, just because I only have excess really of jewelry, and that's what I sell on Whatnot. Laura has a good question, and I'm interested to see what everybody says. She said, as a beginner, she's only able to list 10 items per month. Would you list them all on the same day? So if you only had 10 listings on eBay, how would you do that? That's a hard question.
I mean, I would probably stagger them, just because eBay likes consistency. And so I'd probably list one a day. And that way, at least for 10 days, your store is showing activity. Then maybe on day 11, get in and tweak the first one. And, it's frustrating to only have those few listings right at the very front end, but they will upgrade you once you start selling a little bit and prove that you're not scamming people and that sort of thing. So you got to get through that initial, but I guess I would stagger it.
Yeah, I think I would stagger it also. I was fortunate enough when I started that I had the limit of 250, but that's because I had been shopping on eBay for several years, building my my action figure collection and all my crazy collection that I have in my game room. So I had a lot of feedback already. So I was lucky. Xena was on that end where she only had 10 items, and she just kind of had to slowly build it. And she doesn't sell. She just sells on my eBay account now. So yeah, it can be quite the hurdle, but just go out there and buy a few small items, win a couple of 99-cent auctions, and try to get some feedback for yourself and get that going a little quicker.
So I'm going to disagree with both of them and go a different route. I would list all of them the first day. And the reason for that is eBay will increase your limits very fast if you have activity in your account. So I'm going to get all those items up as soon as possible to try to get sales going right away. Another thing that I would always recommend is, if you're a beginner, go buy 10 or 15 items, like she said, for 99 cents or $1 or $2 a piece, just to start building that feedback. Because a lot of people won't buy from a brand new seller that has a 0 feedback or 1 feedback. Buyers don't look if you're a buyer, if your feedback comes from buying or selling. So I would highly recommend just buying a bunch of stuff and build up that feedback. But yeah, I would list it all at one time, just to try to, once you start getting sales, you can contact eBay right away to help them increase it. So if I'm doing 1 per day, that's only going to push that limit out even further.
Yeah, so I had to really think about that. I think I probably couldn't wait. I think I'd probably do it all on the same day. And what I recommend to everybody, list the most popular items you have. Pick those 10 very carefully, because you want them to sell fast. And that is the one case where I recommend that people cross-post before they're comfortable with a platform, because you obviously cannot make a living off of only listing 10 items or make very much income. So this is the only situation I say list the 10 items. And then if you use List Perfectly, you can have those listings in your catalog and list perfectly. And as soon as eBay gives you the green light, you just cross post them over there from Mercari or Posh or Facebook, whatever other platform you choose. So I would list 10 and then I would jump on another platform. That is what I personally would do. And List Perfectly is great for it because they're all there and you can go back and just hit a couple of buttons and put them on eBay when you're allowed to. We already did that one. God's Grace wants to know, what's the best way to work with several boxes? I'm assuming she means of Legos. I don't think she has boxes of legs, but she might. I don't.
You can't sell medical stuff on eBay.
Miracle
So I
on
don't know.
34th Street lamp. The
It
leg.
could be mechanical legs.
I mean, there is an amputee market for shoes, so I maybe for legs. I don't know. What is the best way to work with several boxes of Legos? I mean, usually when I see the bulk, it's just by the pound. I don't deal with that very much, but I see a lot of people selling Legos by the pound, and they put it up. I think a lot of it goes to auction, and they just run it that way. But I don't know. Personally, I've not done it.
Yeah, I have bulk Legos myself, but they are in my personal collection, so I wouldn't be selling them. But I agree. Yeah, I've only seen them sold really by the pound, unless you have the little instruction booklets. If you can put a set together on the vintage ones, you're probably looking at some pretty decent money because Lego collectors are very serious about their Legos. So, yeah, I mean, if you can come across the instructions for them and make a set, I think that's your best route, but it's going to be a lot of work.
So most of the time when you sell bulk Legos, they're sold two different ways. They're sold by the pound or by the color. So you would either separate by pound or by color. I always highly recommend if you get a big thing of bulk Legos, pull out all the little Lego minifigs first, and then sell off all the pieces in bulk, because those minifigs can bring big money, and they can do separate listings just for those. That can really help maximize your profits, because if you do a bulk listing with those minifigs in there, a lot of times they're missed and people can't see them. So to help maximize your profits, pull the minifigs out and then just do them by the pound, and that's the best way to do it.
He stole my answer. I have nothing to add. Karen wants to know if any of us have used eBay Vault, and can you explain the process, pros and cons? I don't even know what eBay Vault is. Does anybody on the panel?
Yeah, go ahead. You know more specifically, I'm sure, but yeah, I've never messed with it. It seems kind of silly to me, to be honest.
So eBay Vault is just a secured way to, say, store like your sports cards. Very similar to, let's say if you bought a $20,000 Mickey Mantle card, you don't want that sitting at your house. People don't have saves or other things like that. So you can actually, it's almost like having an NFT almost. You own the digital asset to it, and you can actually list that card on eBay, and they can actually transfer it to another seller that way. So it's just a different way people can store their cards in there, easy way to move items back and forth. But I personally like the physical item myself. It just depends on what your preference is, though.
Perfect. Noni's Treasures, what do you think the percentage on Whatnot is as opposed to selling on eBay? So if you're comparing your fees on the two, what does that look like?
I know I've seen charts and stuff on it. There's a 30-cent fee for everything you sell. That's why if you sell things for $1, you're not making much, because there's that 30-cent fee on top of the percentage for every transaction. A dollar item, depending on sales tax, because that's figured into the percentage you're making. It's like 57 cents, 56 cents, 54, really depends. I don't remember what their cut is. It's not bad. But I can't remember offhand. I'm sure Kat can look it up.
I think it's pretty similar, just depending on, how high are you promoting on eBay. Of course, that's going to add to it, but yeah, I think I get like 59 cents if I sell something for $1 on Whatnot. So it's definitely worth it to, if the item's worth it, start it at $2 if you can. But
yeah, that's my minimum. Just because of that darn, you end up at 50% on a $1 item on Whatnot.
Yeah, when you figure in your shipping supplies, on a 59-cent,
you're negative.
You're in the negative for sure.
Yep, still my answer. So go ahead, Kat.
Yeah, no, Regal Siegel said it. It's 8% plus transaction fee, but on, like they were saying, on $1 or $2 item, and I start everything at $2, and some stuff does sell for $2, then I'm looking at a 20 to 30% because it's only $2. Mm-hmm. So that 30% is adding an extra 12 to their 8, and then it goes up. So Whatnot for me averages about 10 to 12% in fees. eBay, hey, Christopher, look who's in the chat. I haven't seen you in a while. I'm happy to see you, my friend. Glad to see you. So Whatnot is cheaper for me because I promote everything. My eBay fees end up about 20 to 25%.
Kat, do you know with what
Whatnot's less.
they're going to be doing the marketplace there? Is the marketplace fees going to be the same as the auctions?
I
Do you
don't know.
that?
I haven't read it. And I wanted to tell you guys too. I have not done it because I am like so negative on time. It's not even funny. But Whatnot has where you can one click and import all your Poshmark listings into Marketplace. And I have all my listings on Posh. So that means I could move all 6,000 of my listings over to Whatnot Marketplace. So I'm super excited about that. And I do plan on doing that. So beware to look at my Whatnot and be like, what the heck just happened? Because I am going to if it's one click, why would I not do that? Why would I not put them on yet another platform to be available to even more eyes? So I definitely will be doing that. Miss Cynthia says, a buyer asked me to send to another address. I told her to cancel and I'll refund her. She said she didn't see how to do it. Is this a scam? She only has 2 feedback. Would you send her the item?
Yeah, I go against the grain on this one. And then when it comes up in Facebook groups, I get people yelling at me. So I say it depends. You know, it depends on the item. You know, the official eBay line, and 80 to 85% of people will say, have them cancel the sale, fix their address, and then do it. This seems like somebody that maybe doesn't buy on eBay very much, and so isn't super familiar with how to do it. I don't think it's automatically a scam. Some people seem to think there's a scam behind every customer request on eBay. I don't think that's true. I think they're far less prevalent than what people think. I have for 6, 7 the address for everybody that's asked and never once had a problem. Now, officially, eBay will say you may lose seller protection if you significantly change the address, is what they say. So if the customer says, hey, I didn't get my item, you can't show that you sent it to the address on file. That said, the messages are through the eBay system. So a human can look at it and you can say, look, I sent it to this address. That doesn't mean eBay is going to make a logical decision. We know they don't always do that. But yeah, I think it depends on the item. If it's a $10 item, I don't think little old lady's trying to scam me out of a $10 item. You know, I weigh the odds versus would I like to have the sale now and assume that it's going to be fine? Usually I do it. Now, if it's on a $500 item, no, I'm going to say, here's what we got to do, because I don't want to lose my protection on that. But I'm going to roll the dice on a cheaper item pretty much every time. Just read what is the item and read the person. Like, you can usually get a good sense of what the person is, even through messages. So that's what I say. Most people are going to say no.
Can I just say what he said?
Sure.
Because I pretty well agree. Yeah, I've changed an address once, and that was quite a while back. And it was because somebody wanted to send something to someone as a birthday item, and they didn't realize, I actually just sent something to our niece and for her birthday, and it took me a minute to figure out how to put in a different address. So I could see somebody who's not even familiar with eBay much at all that having an issue doing that and then going, oh, wait. So, yeah.
I mean, think about when people rent apartments, a lot of people don't stay in the same place more than 1 year or 2. So if they only buy on eBay every once in a while, there's a lot of times people contact me, can you change my address? I forgot to change my address on there because I moved and I never updated. I haven't bought in a while. I've actually contacted eBay recently because I had an item and just get clarity on the situation. They said that if a buyer sends me a message, like you said, if it's like Troy said, if it's reasonable, like if someone's asking me that lives in Savannah, Georgia, and wants something sent to Atlanta, Georgia, no problem. But if the person, his name is Dan Stevenson from Atlanta, Georgia, and then the buyer wants it sent overseas to some name I can't pronounce, more likely it's probably a scam at that point in time. So you just got to use reasonable judgment in there. But eBay can go in the messages and track it, and you can still get your protection from there. But I mean, worst case scenario, always contact eBay support, because every time you contact eBay support, if you have any doubt or any question, they will have it on file and it will help your case more than anything else.
Yeah, so Pokemon Dennis is saying as long as it's in the messages, eBay says you're fine to change the address. I agree with what everybody's kind of said. I will change it again. If it's like $50 or less, I'm probably going to change it and it doesn't seem kind of wonky. If they only have 2 feedback, like Jessica said, it might be that they just couldn't figure it out, how to change it. So I probably would have changed it unless it was like $1,000 item or the address was way different. But I have people say, can you please mail this to my son for his birthday? And it's in a different state. And I have not had any issues with that at all. None of the times I've changed addresses, I've had issues. And I've done it quite a few times over the years. It's not a frequent thing, but I mean, I do definitely do it. And just so you guys know, Jessica had a power flash. Her power flickered off. So she will be back. She sent me a message, just so you know. Is it good to put all items on several platforms? What if it sells in 2 places? You only have 1 to sell.
Yeah, and that's I deal with anxiety, and that's the reason that I don't cross list, because I am paranoid that I'm going to go to bed and that really good item that I have posted in 2 places is going to sell by the time I wake up in 2 places. Now I know you basically cancel on whatever's not eBay, because most of them won't ding you as much. But I don't want to have to go through that. Somebody said, hey, I want to buy your thing. You said it's this much. I paid that much. And now you're telling me I can't sell it to you because I sold it somewhere else. I can't be that guy. And so that's one of the reasons why I don't cross list. And, you know, I know also my limitations and my deficiencies. And I know when it sells on Poshmark, I'm going to forget until I realize I have a new like on Mercari 2 weeks later, and I have to scramble and take it down. I tried cross listing. It didn't work for me. So until List Perfectly, which I know they're working on, get that automatic.
Listen, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it in about 30 seconds.
I know they're working on it. And once it's
they're not working on it, it's like, it's pretty done.
Once it's alive and it works, I'm good with cross listing.
It's live and I'm using it right this second.
Okay, so I might have to go through Kat's link then, and she'll have to set me up with the good people there. Because that's the thing. I need it to automatically delist on one once it sells on the other. Then
it wasn't automatically, but the cool.
No, that's what I want.
Oh,
I want the automatic.
So it pops up. They have. Sorry to cut in, Rod. They have automatic sales detection now. So like I just saw on the top right of my browser, it said a 3, and that means I had 3 sales, and 2 were on Posh, 1 was on eBay. And so you just click that and it takes you to the item and you click to end it. So now it imports those sales so you don't have to search for them, and it gives you a notification on the bar. So you see like this red number.
They almost have me sold then. They need to make it on. You know, the
it's
one
so
thing that
close.
the one
that
program
makes
that I
it
use,
so much easier though. Like the fact that like it is, because I used to just end items once a day, and now like these just sold within the last few hours, and I'm ending them now. You know, me personally, I'm almost always on my computer doing something, so I always see that little notification bar.
Yeah, I just need it automatic. I and the thing is, like, I use it's not really a cross listing thing.
But see, yours would have to be even more automatic, Troy, because I don't know that it would ever work for what you do, because you have like 6 item numbers for one item, and it's not gonna link those, I don't think.
I think it will, because that's what I was gonna say. I use Web Interpret, and that's a little bit of a cross listing thing. I have like 8 different countries that I list one thing here. And within usually it's within a half an hour, it's listed on eBay Canada and France and Spain and, you know, wherever, multiple places. If it sells off of the eBay Spain site, it's inside of minutes. It eliminates all the other listings. And so I think once Web Interpret sees my item vanish from one, it's going to zap it from all the others. I'd have to check with them to make sure. But if Web Interpret can do it, I know the technology is there that when it sells in one place, it'll yank it off of the other. So
yeah, it's coming. Like it's so close, it's not even funny. So Jessica, do you cross post?
I don't. I am heavily considering it because I see a lot of other people doing it, and I really need to get my items out there more. So I need to look into List Perfectly. So definitely heavily considering it. I've had the same wonder though, you know, that if it sells in 2 places, what do I do? But I mean, you just got to pick which one's better and cancel the other and profusely apologize.
No, you don't cancel eBay. That's what you do.
Yeah, yeah.
eBay is the only one you don't cancel.
Yeah.
Rod, what say you?
You guys pretty much covered it all. So
I didn't really answer. I just kind of talked about List Perfectly's like ending. But here's the thing. Like, what are you going to do when you get kicked off eBay and you're full-time, Troy? What the hell are you going to do?
Well, I mean, I'm still
serious,
got the voice, Kat. I could get a job really
I've been banned
quickly.
for 3 days.
Yeah, no, I got.
Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, that's the other side of the coin, right? Like, it completely makes sense. I guess at this point, I'd flip to Whatnot, right? And I just put all my efforts into Whatnot because I've started.
That's the thing, guys. Like, you have to think about if and eBay can close your friggin' account for any reason they want, okay?
Yeah.
And they don't have to give you an explanation. So if you are solely depending on eBay for your main income, what would you do if it was shut down tomorrow? You tell me. I would be putting in keywords on Etsy and having 2 Whatnot sales a day. That's what I would be doing.
Yeah. I'd flip to
what
Whatnot
would you
and
do?
probably Mercari, and
Yeah,
then
but then you would have to go do all of those. And what sucks is if they're already taken down by eBay, you have nothing to copy. So my friend, you are relisting all of those items. So even if you don't cross post, having one of those services, whether it's List Perfectly or anybody else, List Perfectly, everybody knows. I love them. They're my favorite. I've been using them 3 years. Even it would almost be worth it for peace of mind to pay one of them to keep a catalog.
Yeah.
Regardless of which one it is, because then you could go put it all on Mercari with one click instead of having to photograph all of that stuff over again. You know, that's why it's nice to take it from, I'm going to like posh into Whatnot. And a lot of people have closed their eBay stores because they're doing so good on Whatnot. And I was asked last week, am I doing that? And no, like same thing. Like, what if Whatnot kicks me off? I don't want all my eggs in one basket ever.
Yeah.
I just don't.
That's why I need you to talk with List Perfectly and get that auto thing. My anxiety wouldn't let me do it. It just wouldn't. And I would be stressed all the time.
But even like the lowest one, Troy, like seriously for the catalog, like now that we're talking about it, that would be, even if you aren't cross posting, so you had the listing. And now if you're doing Whatnot, use List Perfectly to put all your stuff on Poshmark and then use the one click on Whatnot and pull all your Posh listings in, and then you got them all on Whatnot.
Yeah, I closed Poshmark. I couldn't stand the constant sharing and it drove me crazy. I got rid of Poshmark.
I would like, I don't share. I have a bot, but I would, like I said, just for Whatnot, like that's the only platform that's linked up with Whatnot to copy over now. So I'm just like, I get like, so the anxiety for me comes from what if my main platform is canceled, more so than what if this buyer buys the same thing. And I'll tell you, 90% of the time, it's the same friggin' buyer buying them on all the platforms. And I'm like, dude, did you not notice the pictures are the same? I get it. You like the item. So they haven't got mad. I'm like, yeah, this is me. And but the name's the same. But it has been the same buyer that thought my item was so cool they needed 2 of them. And then I have to cancel one of them. So I would rather deal, and I'll tell you, we might have 2 items a month with 6,000 listed that happens. Not anymore though, not since I get the notification. When I was doing it just once a day though, probably 2 a month at most. So yeah. Okay. I'm getting off my soapbox now. Getting off of it. Jane says, I just hopped on, so I don't know if this has been asked already, but how do you organize hundreds or thousands of inventory and be able to find something when it sells?
You should use like a SKU system. I have it set up where I could use a SKU system. I have everything in bins, and I fail to use a SKU system. I just can't make myself do it. I need at some point just to do it, right? I need to pull one bin at a time and start messing with it. But I just don't. You know, I generally remember where I put the thing. Usually it's the $5 item that sells that you can't remember where the heck you put it, and you waste 20 minutes trying to find it. But for the most part, I just remember, you know, I have like 4 bins. It's the newest stuff. And so I can remember where most of the things that I put are. It's not a great system, but it works for me.
I did it that way in the beginning, and then I did my first what sold video, and I struggled to find things. I think because I was nervous. So we actually have everything. All of our hard goods are either in totes with letter and number on. You know, like each shelf is. I have shelf A, and it's like A1, A2, A3, A4. And then we have some of the little plastic organizers that have the drawers. They're labeled also. And then our clothing is in. It's pre-bagged. It's folded into a poly bag with the suffocation warning on it, and we have little stickers that have numbers, and we use those numbers in the SKU field. And so each one we can go through. They're in what do you call them? File boxes, the banker's boxes, and they're in order, so we can go pull those clothing items real quickly. So that's how we do it. And it honestly didn't take us that long. Xena did a lot of it. I started it to go through and grab each tote and inventory like 1 or 2 a day, and we were able to get it done relatively quickly. So it's definitely nice to have that done and find things much quicker.
Yeah, I agree. I use a tote system. I use a combination of tote system and liked items. And with my tote system, I like to use clear totes when I can, because that way I can see when the totes are low and I need to put more inventory in those. When I do have similar items like books, like I have a bookshelf, I put all my books on a bookshelf. I use certain totes. I put all my video games or DVDs in because I do sell high volume of those items. So I like to keep my like items in similar places. It just mentally it's easier for me to find my items. But I use a system like tote A1, A2, A3, and so on. And then my next shelving unit is going to be, you know, B2, B3, B4, and my next shelving unit is going to be C1, C2, and so on. It's just easier that way. And if I have bigger items, I have a shelf just designed for bigger items, or I'll put my storage shelf on there so I know exactly where the items are to find it. But highly recommend when you get enough to, you know, 30, 40, 50 items, start then, because it makes life so much easier instead when you have hundreds of items trying to find your items.
That's part of why I haven't gone back and done it. Like you got to start it from the beginning, because it is kind of daunting. I've got 1,900 things now. I just don't want to go back in and do all those, even though I should. So you really, you got to start at the beginning.
So Bradford's right. Like there's different inventory systems. I would start it now, Troy, because like I think I started mine at like 500, because the big thing for me was like, if I go out of town or something, I want somebody else to be able to find those items easily. And so for mine, we have 3 inventory areas, one being the shed I'm in. We also have an old canning kitchen. I have an old farmhouse, and then we have another shed. So we have 3 areas. So everything is like A1, A2 in the canning kitchen. In the shed, it is AA1. So that way we know by the beginning what area it is in and what bin. And here in the shed, everything is X. So if it's X, we know it's here in the shed. And then single letters is one space, double letters is another. I would start it as early as you can. Some people are saying like tote scan. I don't use any scannable app, but I definitely would use the custom SKU area to put where you put it. And that none of us, I don't think, said that. So in the custom SKU, which is at the bottom of more specifics on your phone, or just under the subtitle if you're listing on the computer, that is something that only you can see. Some people even put the price they paid, where they got it, what date they got it. A lot of people use that for more information than just the location. So if they get an offer, they can see quickly what they paid for it. But you find something that works for you, so you know. But I would say if you're sick or something, I would have a system where somebody else could pull and pack for you if they had to.
Yeah, nobody
We're-
can come in
we're-
here and find my stuff.
Well,
Never.
it
It's because I know where it is, right? But I do have it, like I said, I have it kind of set up. Like I actually have YouTube reseller stickers. There is a nurse flipper bin. And so in some of my SKUs, it says nurse. And so I know like that's the sticker that's on the outside
Well,
of the
but
bin.
that's a
And I have it
SKU,
set
so
up.
you have it marked. So
Yeah, I mean,
you,
I have like 5% of my things skewed. I just failed to do
well,
it.
I will
it's a
say
start, Troy.
you could start at any point in time. Like, even though you have 1,900 items, I will say if you started a new one now, one of the good things is when you you can see the difference between your old items and your new items. So like for me, I changed up my system probably about a year ago, what I was doing. So any items that I got like likes on, or I was going to send out offers, I could tell if it was my old items or my new items. So it actually made it a lot. I can put higher discounts on those items now because I knew that those items were up there for a longer time just for the fact how they were put in my inventory system. And then I started combining and getting rid of other totes and just minimizing things. So you can do it at any point in time, but it's just easier when you start out earlier. But I get it.
Yeah.
It's just the thought process of doing it for you is probably the worst.
The
Well, and I
funny
do have,
thing
like you
is,
said,
so
like,
we
light
used
stuff,
to
like-
use an at
Yeah.
symbol. Oh, sorry, Troy. We used to use an at symbol when we put it on list perfectly, like years ago, and we put LP in the SKU now, so we
Yeah.
know it's cross posted. And so if I see an at symbol, I'm like, man, that's been listed a long time because we haven't
Yeah.
been using that for a long time.
Yeah, I do have like similar, like I have 2 DVD bins. So I know if a DVD sells, all I got to do is pull out the bin, look through it. I have games on a shelf, games and vinyl and cassette tapes are all on a bookshelf, and I've got stuff like that, where it's like items. So if that stuff sells, it might as well be skewed because I know exactly where it is.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like somebody else could find it, like if it's all like where the DVDs are. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So somebody could find that stuff if it's all like clumped together, I would think.
Yeah.
Miss Lisa sent a $5 super chat and said, are the USPS flat rate bubble mailers not being used anymore? And can they be used for wrapping? I received an item wrapped in this today.
No, that's just lazy and cheap resellers. Bubble wrap is not that expensive. I buy 700 feet at a time for like $40 shipped. It's recycled, so I pay a little more. I'm doing good things for the environment. 700 feet, that lasts me quite a while. That lasts me, depending on my sales volume, I can like a month, 3 weeks, 4 weeks usually. It's not that it costs what, like 3 cents of bubble wrap to wrap it up. I mean, that's what's ultimately, honestly, I mean, the USPS loses money constantly. That's one of the things that's going to go first. When somebody sits down and goes, what should we start getting rid of? My post office near me used to be open until 6. The big boss, Postal Service, said, we need you to close at 5 now. It's not that it wasn't being used. They're trying to save money. So ultimately, when somebody tries to save money and somebody comes in and starts counting the beans, they're going to go, look at all these free supplies we hand out. People aren't using them correctly. Let's just stop doing it, or let's start charging them for it. Ultimately, misuse is going to end up costing us.
Yep.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, there's plenty of ways to get bubble wrap if for free. I've gotten several huge pieces from the pet store. I went in to get stuff for my dogs and for my salamanders, and they were unwrapping the big aquariums. And I said, what are you going to do with that? And they said, put it in the trash. Can I have it? Yeah, of course. So, I mean, if you see it, they're just going to throw it away. If you go in a store, they're more than likely give it to you. You get your family and friends to give it to you for free. I mean, there are definitely ways to get it. But yeah, Troy's right. It's really not too awfully expensive to buy it. So.
Yep, I agree with both of them on that one. So
I will tell you, the padded flat rates are the next thing that are going to go for exactly this reason.
Yep.
They will be gone soon. And when they are gone, then yeah, you can use them for whatever the hell you want. And you can thank the people that sent you that for them being gone. I hate that. We're getting free supplies and people are abusing them. It's one of my biggest pet peeves, and they're being cheap and it's ridiculous. And here is I'm going to give you, which one will I give you? I'm going to give you this new one. I forgot I covered the word. Mark is here, and he did not send enough of a late fee. Marcia said you were going to owe a really big late fee. So I think it increases if you're here 20 minutes before the end. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. All right, Mark, I'm glad you're here. I totally get it. Family comes first, guys. Family first before this show, always. So here is your, it's not a dolphin. It's not a dolphin. Here's some kids for you. That is my daughter. If you guys have not seen her, that is my 21-year-old along with Dalton. I have a 23-year-old who I don't know that anybody has seen. Rod and I were clicking it off at the same time again. I'm telling you, we click it at the same time, and that's why you see off on, is because we're both like hitting it at the same time. So thank you so much. Rocks to be me says, are you all paying the listing fees over 250 listings, or is that applicable when you have a store?
No, yeah. Once you get a store, like that's one of the times when you want to start looking at a store is when you have to start paying fees because you have too many things listed, or when they relist, because that counts as a listing. So yeah, once you get the store, as long as you have the right level for the amount of inventory that you have, then you won't have to worry about that. And they've increased like listing like crazy. So I'm never bumping up against, I can't list anymore this month. It doesn't happen now. And it's not the very basic one that's very, very cheap. It's whatever the one is right above that. I don't remember what they're called.
Yeah, I have the same one. It's like $20 or $22 a month or something like that. Yeah. I've never gotten to the point that I've hit the max.
So that's mostly for people that don't have a store, because I think 250 is the actual cutoff, which makes it financial sense to get a store. So that's usually what I tell people the cutoff is. But yeah, I mean, I have the $59.99 month of store. I had that well before eBay increased like the limits per store, and you do get benefits by having those stores too, because you do get discounts on shipping supplies and other things. Every quarter you get free money to spend on shipping supplies. They still need to change that though for our store cap, because we pay $59.99 a month and we only get a $50 coupon. Where if you have the $25 store, I think, or whatever it is, you get a
$20 store, you get 20. Yeah. Yeah. So I want to make sure everybody knows, because somebody contacted me about this yesterday or the day before. It is not 250 new listings a month, guys. When those listings renew the next month, they count. So if you have 900 listings, you're going to be paying for 650 of those. And every month that they roll over, it is a new listing. So don't confuse. 250 is your total listings. If you are listing 250 a month, then you need a store. Otherwise, you're going to be paying a ton in insertion fees. So be very, very careful. A lot of people think it means they can list 250 a month, but you can't list 250 new. You can only have 250 total listed, including old ones that roll over. So be very, very careful. I think Brittany went live on Whatnot, but maybe she'll rewatch this. She wants to know, how did we come up with our store and our YouTube names?
I don't know. I just kind of brainstormed. I didn't want to be a flipper or a picker, because everybody is a flipper and a picker. So I just had to come up with something. And I'm in Montana. What's around me? I'm in the mountains. I've got the beard. It made sense. So that's how I got Mountain Man. And then, what do you put on the end of it? That's not a picker or a flipper or Mountain Man. What does he do? He goes out and he finds treasure. So that's what we did.
Yeah, my store was just my name, my government name, if you will, for a long time. And then when I decided I wanted to do YouTube, I thought, and then one day it just came to me, Resell the Ride. So because that's really the honest reason why I started reselling, was to buy my first Harley. So and it worked out. So I'm just going to keep the name from now on.
So I've been selling on eBay for 20 plus years, and my eBay name has actually changed probably about 3 times over the years, depending on what I was doing. But right now it is pick and punching. It's been pick and punching for a while now. And the reason for that is I was an independent pro wrestler for a while. and I used to travel a lot. And as I traveled to wrestling shows, sometimes I would drive 4, 5, 6 hours a day. And on my ways, because a lot of the shows were on weekends, I would, along the road, on my way up there, I would hit up yard sales, thrift stores, pawn shops, and I would source all the way up there to my wrestling shows. So that's where the picking came from and the punching came from. So when I originally was on launch my channel, is me, just about me picking and punching my way across America. So through the wrestling.
I want to say thanks to John for getting Rod a YouTube membership to the channel. I don't know who else got. Thank you, John. It's funny because Scott Cha-Ching King has won them twice. He has won them twice. So for me, it's I'm a nurse and I'm a flipper. And I think you should come up with something that's memorable, easy for people to remember, especially for YouTube, whatnot. And I think you should keep it across the platforms. So mine is the nurse flipper on all of the platforms. And that way, you just keep that name synonymous, but make it something that's easy to remember. If it's hard to remember, if it's hard to spell, nobody's going to be able to find you, and it's going to be a detriment to any platform. If they can't spell your name, they can't find you. So, and I would think of things you like, or like what you are. Like Troy says, he's mountain man. I'm a nurse. Jessica is what she's doing. Rod, same thing. He's picking, he's punching. It goes with the wrestling thing. It's catchy. You can remember it. It's like, and John's name is More Income because his last name is Moore. So it's perfect. And he wants more income. So, I think it needs to be catchy and people need to be able to remember it. Yeah, see, Chance, found by chance. My name is Chance and I find things. So just make it short, sweet, and memorable is what I would say. That would be the advice that I would give on that. Angie wants to know, do you fight it when you get an item not as described when the customer is wrong? I have free returns, seller pays shipping, so I don't understand why customers choose that option.
I don't think you can fight it when they choose that. I mean, that's one of the things with eBay. If they choose an INAD, it's automatic. So that's why I don't do free shipping, honestly, is I charge shipping for it. We rely on the customer sometimes to not try and get around, I guess I just didn't want this. So, I don't think you can fight it. I had one guy the other day say, he bought a $10 shirt and then get a message that, wow, this thing, it has such a horrible smell. And I try to wash it so many times, it won't come out. I just threw it away. What are we going to do? Well, I said, well, if you send it back, I can get you your money back. Thinking, because I've done this before, and they go, well, I threw it away. I can't send it back. And so, the guy goes, oh, okay. He sent it back. And I'm smelling the thing going, there's nothing wrong with this. He just changed his mind. He was trying to lay the groundwork for, I don't even have it, or he just wanted to keep it and he was trying to get a free shirt. But I forced it by saying, no, go ahead and return it. He's going to be crabby because he had to pay for shipping both ways and ultimately only probably got, $4 back. But that's why I charge returns, to avoid stuff like that.
I also charge return shipping. I don't want to be out any additional money. I can only think of one INAD that I've had. I've been very, very fortunate in that department. I had a small little ceramic tea set that came from a craft store. I put in the title that it was like beige or tan. It was also in the item specifics. It was in the description. And the customer tried to say that it was not white, which they thought it was. And I called eBay and said, hey, it is in all 3 places where it should be. It's exactly as it is described. It's in the pictures. You can tell it's not bright white. Nowhere does it say white. And they agreed with me. They basically said, you just need to contact them and tell them you can return it to get your money back. That's the only way you're going to get anything. And they ended up sending it back to me. I just said, here's the deal. Sent them screenshots and they did as I asked. I'm sure they were really irritated about it, but it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I have buyers pay for returns. I do offer free returns back if there's something wrong with the item. The only time I've ever fought an item as not described is when I had a video game where the customer tried to swap out the disc and sent me back a different thing, but there was specific marks on the disc. So I was able to fight it with eBay and was able to get my money back and get, and I got to keep their disc as well. But other than that, I mean, there's not much you can really do. When it comes to customers want to return things, they're going to find ways to return things all point in time. You just have to factor that part into your cost of doing business.
Yeah, so I do free returns because I get a discount on my final value fees, and that discount is way more than any shipping I pay on returns because I don't get very many. So I actually make more money giving free shipping on returns than I do having them buy it. So I get 10% on final value fees, which for me a lot of times is $3,000 a month, and I'm saving $300. So that would take a lot of return shipping to kind of offset it. I wouldn't argue it like with that or any return. Like I take it and move on. It's business. I'm not gonna since I have free returns, it doesn't ding you for not as described. You don't get in trouble for that. You just take the return, give their money back. It's not like a black mark on your eBay account or anything. So I wouldn't care why they chose, they're going to get a free return from me either way. The only time I fought it is when they said it was not described in a negative feedback, and I proved that it was as described, and I did get the negative feedback removed. So if they left a negative feedback about it, that is when I would argue with it. Miss Deborah sent a $10 super chat and said her name may be difficult. It's Batty Biddy's Bazaar. But I think, and I saw a couple people say in the chat, that's memorable, right? It's memorable. It's the like Sally sells seashells by the seashore kind of thing.
I'm a big fan of alliteration.
Would remember it. Yeah. All right. Eeny, meeny, miny. What are we going to play? Let's give you this one. Me and Rod are clicking things at the same time again, but we're clicking different things that time. All right. Sherry wants to know, what is a Vero? Troy, can you sum this up for her?
Yeah, it stands for what? Verified rights owner. Basically, as a reseller, we should, and the court says we have the right to buy something and then sell it again. That said, there are companies like OtterBox that we were talking about that are very, very militant about people not reselling their items. They'll couch it in saying, well, it's a warranty issue. They just don't want other people selling their stuff. And so they get a hold of eBay and say, hey, put us on the list. We don't want people selling our stuff. And if you do list the thing, then they can send you basically a notice and say, hey, you got to take this down. We won't let you sell your stuff. Now, are you right? Should you be able to sell it? Yeah. Do you have the money, the desire, the time to take them to court and prove it over a $20 item? No. And so they win. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's how it works. If they say take it down, you're stuck. You got to take it down.
And if you get multiple, eBay will shut you down either for 3 days, sometimes a month, and sometimes forever. So if you ignore those warnings, you can get in trouble. Also, some of those companies will state you can't sell new items because Troy was saying, for a warranty. So if you look at the eBay Bureau list, warning, I will tell you it will take you days and days to read it. I do not recommend doing that. But each company has a subsection with the specifics. So most of those can be listed, but they have details like you might need to put warranty not valid. So, they have their little stipulations. I saw Courtney Bolo Buddies just put out a video educating on Vero, I think 2 days ago. So if you guys want to learn a little bit more, Courtney did some legwork, Bolo Buddies. She just put a video out. I think it was a couple days ago. So go and check that out. I haven't broached the subject because the list is extensive and there's no way to cover it all. Like I said, it will take you days just to read it. This is a good question. So how would you handle a cancellation request once you have packaged the item and purchased the shipping label?
Question from the Big Sky State. I dig it. It depends on the item. You know, if it was something I just threw in a poly mailer, or you know, if it was very simple, I just go ahead and honor the cancellation, because odds are you're going to get it back anyway. And so, especially if, like Cat, you have free returns, you ship that out, you're going to have to pay to get it back. There's no point in doing that. Now, if it's something, you know, like my lamp, it's going to take me a while to box that thing up. I don't know. We'll see. But usually, I just honor the request. You can get the label voided, and so you'll get the money back for that. It takes a little bit, but you will get reimbursed for the label if it's not used. So you're just out the time and the packing. It's obnoxious, but there's a good chance you're going to get it back if you ship it out anyway. So let's just skip the middleman.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Yeah, pretty much. I know you guys, everyone wants to fight it, and because it's already, all the work's already done, you just got to drop it off and you want that money, but it's going to save you so much hassle. Just cancel it and move on.
Yeah, it would depend on my mood. I might be in a not happy mood, and I might tell them, sorry, I already shipped it, even though it's sitting on my counter with the label on it. But most of the time I'm going to cancel it for the reason Troy said, because otherwise it's going to be a return coming back to me anyways. And you can cancel that label and get a refund on it. Most people, for me, typically ask to cancel within an hour of buying it before I pack. That's been my experience with it overall. Miss Barbara, does Timpani & Co. make lampshades? You know they make lampshades. That was a smart aleck question, I think. If you find if you have a garage full of Tiffany & Co. lampshades, you have a whole house sitting in your garage. You have hundreds of thousands of dollars. Cora wants to know if any of us have had trouble adding items to Whatnot. It stopped accepting listings after 20.
Like to the marketplace? I haven't messed with the marketplace.
I think she maybe means to the catalog is what I would assume.
Yeah, I don't know. I just go in and I list stuff each show. I've never had trouble with it. The Whatnot it's still newer and it's glitchy. And then if they have some celebrity on there that brings a ton of people in, it crashes. You know, they got issues. So it could just be a glitchy thing. I don't know. I've not had any issues.
I've never had a listing like maximum at like 20. I've only had like where I've put an item in and you know,
and then it kicks you out.
Yeah, and it's not there. I'm like, well, dang it. So then I had to go in and redo it, and I've had to redo it a couple of times. But other than that, no, I've never had it just not let me do it at all.
Nope, I'll pass the Cat.
So I will tell you, Whatnot and Android are not friends. They are not friends. So if you have an Android, that is 110% the problem. So some days, depending on what's going on and who's throwing a concert on Whatnot and jamming up their system currently, then like Jess said, I've listed an item 4 times and it kicks me back out. So what I do is go get the iPhone 12 that I bought just for Whatnot. So I typically will use my own phone, which is Android, but if it's glitchy, I go get the iPhone and I have no problems. So if you're doing Whatnot enough, I will tell you it is worth the money to buy a used iPhone dedicated to Whatnot. 110%, a lot more features, makes life a lot easier. Like I said, I do it for simplicity. I'll start listing on my phone, but I think the last 2 shows I cataloged, I switched to the iPhone.
And you can only raid, right, from an iPhone.
Yeah, I don't think they have the RAID feature available yet for Android either. So
that was the volume issue recently too. Is all Android phones, the volume was screwed up in shows for the person listening on the Android.
Yeah. So I mean, I got mine. I want to say it was like $400 or $450. You could get an older iPhone. I got a little bit newer one, not the newest one. But it like I'm doing 5 Whatnot shows a week. So we have a dedicated Whatnot phone that either myself or Brooke can use to catalog if we're having issues on it. Brooke, my daughter, actually has an iPhone, but sometimes she doesn't want to use her own phone. I don't know why. But so we have a dedicated one. I'm going to do 2 more questions, guys. I'm going to answer this one real quick, and then we'll do one more. Chance is asking if the auto sales is only available with the highest subscription. Yes, it is on List Perfectly. So, and Flippin' Hippos put a video out about this, and I said something in my what sold video. It's $2.33 a day. So you need one sale to pay for List Perfectly a day. One sale a day. We get multiple. But most of the people that I've talked to that have started cross-posting are really, really happy with it. So I think it's worth it. You also get photo room free. So you wouldn't have to buy photo room. If you're listing from List Perfectly, you get photo room for free as well. So there are a lot of perks and benefits to that higher one. Okay, Rod, pick a question.
Pick a question.
Last one. Pick a question. We still have 16, guys. We only have time for one more. I'm putting it on him.
Oh, jeez.
I should have done this long. I'll tell you guys why when I do my exit.
There we go. Here's the question for you.
How many times has Rod made himself big? None.
None.
He
None.
did excellent.
So
He
what
did
happens is I
excellent.
usually have to yell at the kid to tell them to go to bed. So I try to hit the stop my cam button, and I always hit the freaking big button by accident.
Yes, Lisa, photo room for free in the highest List Perfectly subscription. All right, guys, I am going to let everybody tell you goodbye, give you a little synopsis of their channel. Troy, if you're doing Whatnot again, tell them that too. And Jess, if you're going to let everybody know what's going on. And then I will give you guys an announcement. And we're going to have another announcement. We're going to have a big announcement next week, Rod and myself. But I'm going to give you another one tonight. So here is Troy. And yes, I will leave you cliffhanging. And yes, I am strong enough to do it. So here is Troy.
Yeah, we're doing Whatnot again. I'm still working on getting a regular schedule, but generally we started doing them on Sundays, and it actually worked out really well. Doing stuff on Sunday, we started doing sort of garage sale, estate sale type, a little of this, a little of that, mix and match type of thing. I'm going to have the G.I. Joe auction here coming up in just a little bit. So you can find me on there. I think it's MTN Man on there. I don't know why I didn't do it the same. I don't know. I don't know why I didn't do it. It's silly. I know I can change it, but I am on there. You can find in any of my videos on YouTube. There's the information on how to find me on there, on Instagram. Contact me on email. Send me ducks in the mail. Whatever you want to do. And that's me.
Perfect. Here's Jessica.
All right, guys. Well, I am on YouTube, as you know, Resell to Ride. I'm also on Instagram, same name and same for Whatnot. I drop videos on YouTube every Friday around between noon and 3, depending on the day. And Whatnot, as far as that, I am definitely looking into getting back into Whatnot. We've got a lot of toys and such from some previous videos that we did on YouTube that we need to get moving, and I just don't have the time to research them and get them listed. So we'll probably be doing that again soon. So make sure you go check me out on Whatnot, follow me, and keep an eye out for upcoming auctions. And I did hit 400 subscribers on YouTube today. So if you haven't subscribed, please go do that. I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys.
Perfect. Rod, what's coming up?
So I just dropped a brand new video today. I went picking with the NC picker, and we made a $400 mistake. So go watch that video to see what we missed out on. You guys can find me on Instagram, on Facebook as Picking and Punching. Make sure you guys check out the YouTube channel, subscribe if you're not. If you guys, any questions we did not answer today, because there's always questions, feel free to send me a message. I do respond to every single message. Also, to find me on Whatnot, Picking and Punching. I will be launching my first Whatnot here in the next couple weeks. So please start following me so we have it.
Yay, 431 subscribers for Jess now. If you're watching after, follow it. Let's get her to 500, guys. Let's get her to 500.
Thanks, guys.
So we are going to have a exciting announcement for you guys next week. Us YouTubers are great at the cliffhangers like he just did for his video. So next week, we are going to be joined by Sunny Las Vegas, as well as Trish from List Perfectly. So if you got those List Perfectly questions, bring them. She's not Clara or Amanda with all the programming, but she is absolutely amazing. She is their event coordinator. She will be on with us as well as Sunny. I just signed up today to go to auction school. So Florida does not have a very hard written law. I say do your own research, even if you're in Florida. My interpretation of it, it is not required right now, but it will be soon. I make the majority of my income on Whatnot, so I signed up for auctioneer school. So I will be a state registered auctioneer. That means 80 hours in 10 days, and that means not going to be absent from my own show. So the classes are 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. and then 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. the second week. So the first week, Tiffany Thrifting Vegas is going to fill in for me, and I will come on as soon as my class is over. Second week, I will be gone the entire time, and my good friend Katie Reeds is going to step in for me as well. I am going to let Rod be the host on those shows. That's why I said I let him pick one question. Maybe next week I'll let him read the questions and I'll swap it for work up to it. So for the first time in 3 years, I'm going to be absent from my own show. But I trust Rod, I trust all my guests, and I need to get this done because legally I don't want to have any issues regarding that when I'm doing so well on Whatnot. So it's going to be, it's a state board, just like nursing exam, which is not fun. So I'll have 80 hours of school in 10 days, and then I'll have to sit for a board exam. But I signed up and I paid, and it is done. My family is gonna I'm gonna be ignoring them for 13 hours a day, but I think it will be worth it. So I am doing that. So I will be on I might be on Whatnot at 11 a.m. tomorrow. I might not be. If you see a notification pop up, come see me. If not, I will definitely be on at 8:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. I might be on twice. We're also on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. So definitely come see us. $2 starts on everything. And I've been having a lot of reseller, lots of jewelry. And I will have a what sold video out on Thursday. And we'll pick a winner of a free month of List Perfectly and my reseller Genie for reseller accounting. And yes, nursing boards was very nerve-wracking. I anticipate that auctioneer boards are probably going to be just as, when you have to take a state board, it's not very comfortable. Okay. It's not very comfortable. So hopefully I can remember all that stuff jam-packed. I appreciate you guys coming. Thank you to Troy, Jessica, and Rod for being here with me. I hope you guys have a great night. We will see you next week. Bye for now, guys.
Bye.